All right, it's Reusse Unchained. We're gonna we're gonna drag Reusse into some Twins offseason speculation here, but boy, the Astros weren't gonna go down.
No,
They weren't gonna go down with a sweep. We found out last night.
wasn't it amazing to see a baseball game with hitting? That's what I couldn't. Two teams hitting the ball
Yeah.
and jumping over fences to catch it and bring it back and make great plays all over. But, having the ball in play hard, and it was in play hard last night, was phenomenal to watch. It was great because it's such a contrast to everything else we're seeing right now, which is 3-1.
You are allowed to
speaking.
score 8 runs in a playoff game.
Yes.
That's my
Yes.
one message to the Twins.
Yes.
It is acceptable.
Yes, it is. Once in a while, it's nothing wrong to beat each other up. In Texas, I tell you what, as soon as they hit that 2-run home run, you said this ain't over because they can put up the runs, man. They are. But man, the other thing is great defensive plays too. Seager made a great play in the hole. The guy jumped over the fence. That Brantley, had no idea he still had that much juice in him to make that catch in left center field. That might have saved the game. That catch in left center.
His career initially got derailed here, right? Didn't he suffer a brutal knee injury or leg on the warning track at Target Field? I think that's where. I think that's where the problem started. He's a hell of a player when he's healthy.
God, he's a great hitter, just a great hitter. But this year he had 57 at bats. I looked it up before the series because I looked and said, wait a minute, he's back in the lineup when they were playing Houston.
Yep.
And a couple of days before that, and he only had 57 at bats this season. He didn't play till September, I don't think. And then when he played in September, they played him every other day. But old Dusty, desperate, down 2-0, sticks him out there in left field instead of DHing, and he saves the game for him. Damn, he was happy too. I think he surprised himself that he caught that ball, that he got there and got that. But that was a very emotional, fun game because we got hitting. Hey,
I generally hate the in-game interviews. It's like a guy will come around the bases all huffing and puffing. It's like, here's a microphone in your face. But who's great at them is Dusty. Dusty loves it, and he'll call play-by-play, and he's laughing. It feels like there's this huge weight that winning that World Series last year too has just kind of made him even more fun.
I say he's the Chris Rock grandpa character of baseball. He's got all these old philosophical things. I mean, still one of the great quotes of this postseason is he was asked about Kepler, and Kepler, comparing Kepler to his right fielder, to Kepler and Tucker, right? Wasn't it? Something like that. They're both good-looking guys.
Yeah.
What?
Very handsome.
Good-looking guys, and they take good at bats. And he's an old philosopher, and he doesn't let anything bother him, and everybody gets along with him great. So he's. But he must love it, man. He's still back there. How many teams now? The Nats, the Cubs,
Giants,
the Giants.
The Giants were his
Reds.
first.
Reds, right?
Yeah, the Reds, the Cubs, the Reds,
5 teams,
Washington, and Houston.
Yeah.
And
That's still one of the great moments, and it's one of the great moments in World Series history when JT Snow, was it JT Snow saves?
Yeah,
his kid,
Dusty, the 3-year-old, the 5-year. That's another thing about Dusty. He's got his 4-year-old kid as the bat boy, running out, get out there and get the bats, and that kid ended up getting signed. I don't know if he's still playing or not, though, but. That was a World Series moment for the ages, to say the least.
Yes, it was. So we earlier this week we started. We like to speculate recklessly on our show here. So we started with the comb through of the roster. They've got the Kepler $10 million option, the Polanco option. You're trying to figure out center field, but Michael A. Taylor's a free agent. You don't know if you're going to get the Bally's money. So, they bring Patrick Reusse into the big conference room at One Twins Way and say, there's all this stuff. Where do you start? Where do you start parsing all this apart?
I've been thinking about this, actually, and I would like Sonny Gray back. So it's 3 years, 60, right? But you're not going to raise your payroll. Okay.
It probably comes down.
I would move if I could move both Kepler and Polanco to save that money. I would sign Sonny. If I could, if I'm not just going to get rid of them to cut payroll, if I'm going to get rid of them to keep Sonny Gray, then I would do that. I mean, we'll never see Sonny Gray as good as he was this year. I mean, that's a phenomenal year for his age. What is he going to be, 34?
Yeah.
And I think, but I mean, they're really, Falvey's really excited about Paddock. They still think that's a great arm, and they saw 7 outs. I don't think you can base your season on it, but if you start the rotation with those 2 guys, Lopez and him again, and then you got Paddock as an option, and you got all of a sudden you're loaded with pitching. Because when you look at this, and I've said this, when you look at this postseason, how many teams are more than 2 starters deep? It's incredible. They 2 starters, and then you got a guy that you take out after the 3rd inning. If he gets through 3 innings, you're happy. So that would be you got Blyleven and Viola, and then you got a bunch of Les Strakers. I mean, everybody else has got Les Strakers, and so if you could get yourself, that kind of a rotation, if Paddock was your 3rd option instead of a guy that has to be really good for you.
Joe Ryan too, when he's not hiding an injury, is a good pitcher.
He'll be okay. Don't you think that Sonny, helps that clubhouse because of his edge, not because he's an over running around, patting the back, but I see him in there, and he's Morris. When he's ready to pitch, he's Morris. He's like, stay away from me. I'm going to have my meetings, but I don't want to, I mean, Dan Gladden told me the greatest Morris story ever during the pandemic. I did a piece on him, and they all jump around after winning Game 6, this phenomenal Game 6. Then they finally get up to the clubhouse, and everybody jumping around and screaming and hollering. And Jack walks through the door, walks in, doesn't say a word to anybody, walks over to his locker, puts his stuff in there, puts his glove in there, looks into the locker, and Jack Gladden said, I knew we were going to win Game 7 when I saw that. And Sonny Gray gives him some of that because he's a competitive SOB. He's not the greatest guy in the world, but he's the most candid. And I think he'll be sadly missed because you get a veteran like that that's, kind of shows everybody how to compete, I think.
Yeah. So, Pat, what's the most that he could possibly get, do you think, on the open market?
I wonder, there's a lot of teams that are in the same situation as the Twins. The regional TV money is in big trouble all around baseball. And you might not have the crazy, first of all, you look around at what the Mets did. You say, okay, I'm going to spend all my billions here. And then in August, you say, okay, now I'm going to get rid of everybody. And you see what the Padres spending all that money did, and they didn't make the playoffs. And but I think there's, because of the regional TV crisis, basically the cable TV crisis, there's going to be less money in the game. And maybe the 3 for $60, I'd say, would get him done, don't you think? And then he gets an option. Then he gets a $6 million buyout if you don't pick up the 4th year or something like that.
And right now, so it was a record high payroll. I think opening day was like 153 or 154 million.
It's high for them.
And it's a $55 million Bally's chunk that is a huge question mark that's gone right now.
High? Is it that high?
Mm-hmm.
Did it end up being that high?
55.
I thought it was 40. But...
the old deal was 40, and then the new deal is 55. And
that's a lot of money.
Right now they have $92 million in guaranteed contracts. That counts the team options on Kepler and Polanco.
Yeah.
And then if you estimate, like some of these websites like Spotrac will estimate the arbitration figures. So the estimation right now, not counting Sonny Gray, not counting Michael A. Taylor, the free agents, Pagan, they're at like 111 million right now. So the question is,
that's pretty high.
How far beyond that would they go without a TV deal? And of course the fans are going to yell cheap poll ads, but
yeah, well, it's reality. I tell you what they'd like to do. Get out of the 2 years they have left on the Christian Vasquez deal for $20 million.
Yeah.
What was that? He doesn't catch it all for you. I think if
but Jeffers couldn't hit like this until this year, right? This was like his big. Yeah. I mean, I guess he hit it. No, this is his biggest offensive season.
I mean, it's fine to have a veteran catcher like that, almost splitting the time, but not at that number. Not at that number. But they're not gonna have it. I'd say they're gonna be 130, something like that, 135. I don't think they're gonna. I heard they're coming down to some degree. I mean, they've always run it that and you can't blame them. They operate on what their revenues are, and I think they've they had to enjoy everything they saw at the end of this year and the enthusiasm, and I don't think they want to become you're going to have 25% of the people are going to say the cheap pull ads. They won't finance a winning team, but you can't worry about them. But you can't irritate all the people who showed up there and waving their flags 40,000, and you can't. You gotta. And if you can bring back Sonny, if you can upset the odds and bring back Sonny Gray, what else? I said I'd like to see a left-handed starter, and I'd like to see a left-handed reliever, but more than anything, if you bring him back, I think the best thing they can do this offseason is bring him back, don't you? And if they let Polanco and Kepler go to do that, nobody's going to complain, I don't think. But you want to pick up the options and then get something for them, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think the most important thing from a business standpoint, with knowing that your TV situation's uncertain, and it's not like you're gonna lose the entire chunk. You're going to have some type of
probably
TV deal.
Lose half though to start with.
But the important thing from a business standpoint, Pat, to what you're saying is you do have the potential now to sell probably new season ticket packages, or at least partial plans. So you can't take away that desire completely. And Gray probably helps, but if you just decide to slash it too much, then you probably lose that potential. So there's a fine line here from a business standpoint, of not going too far.
And I'm sure they don't base it on this, but they also have the worst schedule in the history of baseball next year. They have more home games in April than any other month. And it's one of those years, about every 3 or 4 years, you get the awful schedule. And they have, I'm not sure if it's July, August, one of those months, you got like 6 home games or something like that in the middle of the summer. It's every once in a while they get stuck with a god awful schedule. And I think I haven't looked. I got to tell you, somebody told me they have more home games in April than any other month next year, which is really smart.
Baseball keeps doing this. Though.
I know, they're stupid.
What are you doing? And the problem is this. I don't think the Twins got rained out this season.
No.
So your luck is done.
Let's face it. If you want a chance to draw up here, drought is very helpful. The farmers, the corn is growing real slow, so they might as well come in and watch baseball in August, right? And B, by the way, they all got money hidden under the mattresses and stuff. They're loaded, the farmers, no matter what they tell you, complaining. But
okay. I just found the schedule, by the way. They play. So part of it's the first week in May, which is just as bad, by the way.
Yeah.
They play 20 home games before May 10th.
1/4 of your home schedule.
Before May 10th.
May 10th. What in God's name did they dislike Joe Polad that much? The new generation? What the hell are they doing to poor old Joe? Somebody should do a piece on this god awful schedule. It's
interesting.
I've been saying this for years now. We've all been saying it. Baseball just runs it through and puts the schedule. They don't consider weather, roofs, anything. What the hell is the matter with you?
Yep.
They say, well, everybody's got to have an equal chance to draw in the summer. No.
And as part of that schedule, the Dodgers come to Target Field the second week in April. Dodgers.
Dodgers. Good.
2 years ago, same thing. The Dodgers were here in 2020. What's this? 3 in 2022. Yeah. If you guys recall, the Dodgers were here in April. Same thing.
Last year in the middle of the summer, you get the Dodgers, you draw 35,000 a game. You get them in April, you get 12.
Yeah.
You know?
And obviously the weather in Los Angeles is a little different.
They might have, what do the Dodgers care when they're at home? You know,
correct.
They're gonna draw. You got 42,000 season tickets to start with, or something like that. That gives you a good boost. You know, it's awful. It's just, you know, baseball does some things you think they're kind of smart. You know, the pitch clock and all that stuff, and probably going to have a challenge here on balls and strikes, maybe as soon as next year. But then they do this. Then they just run the schedule through a computer, and however it pops out, you know, it's a good thing they don't have a franchise in Nome, Alaska. They'd be, you know, we got you 12 home games there before April 15th. Is that okay?
It'll be great. Just put a park on. It'll be great.
Idiots. Unbelievable.
Hey, I have one more Twins roster question for you. What do you do? How do you plan for Brooks Lee and Austin Martin? Can Austin Martin play center field?
Yes. I think that might even be his position. He can run like the wind. He has no power, you know. So they like him. I think he's your backup center field. I don't think that Michael Taylor did really well here this year, and he's okay. But I don't think they're bringing him back. And that I think Austin Martin and Buxton will be your center fielders. And if Buxton can't play, then you'll look around. But Austin Martin is a tremendous athlete, steal a base and all that good stuff. So I think when he shows, I would imagine they probably have him in Florida this winter working on center field would be my guess. And they got enough, you know who your shortstop is, unless that ankle has to be amputated like the Mets and the Giants.
Eventually.
Yeah, the clock's ticking now.
That's a couple years.
Yeah, you got him, and then you got Julian at second, and you got Reusse at third, and Brooks Lee might not. Brooks Lee won't be on the opening day roster. I wouldn't think. I would say they're going to do one of those service time. And now, if somebody gets hurt, they'll call them up or something.
Yeah, but, go crush it for a month, and then we'll see. We'll see you in the middle of May.
But do we still do the service time thing and bring them
changed
up?
That.
Not as much.
They've changed that. It's now actually incentivized for teams to bring guys up.
That's right. So
they changed that rule.
I bet it depends upon if everybody's healthy in spring training. I would guess he's not. I wonder, like Solano won't cost him any money. They'll probably bring him back, don't you think? Right-handed hitter. Give him $4 million instead of $2 million, you know. So
yeah, it kind of depends, and some of it depends too on what's Kirilloff's timeline with that shoulder surgery. Is he opening day ready? I
don't know about him. I weep for what I thought he was going to be and what he's turned out to be so far. He gets into these ruts where he's terrible. And then when you give him, all of a sudden he hits ball out to left center, and you say, yeah, that's it. But
does he have any personality up or down? Have you ever seen him react to anything?
He grew up in a very religious situation where I don't think the kid shot off his mouth too much, and he stands in front of his locker and does the interviews. But I'll put it this way. I'll take a Joe Mauer interview over an Alex Kirilloff interview. And Joe, let's say the middle of his career, when Joe was really super boring, he got a little more relaxed later. But
Jason Kubel was a little bit like that too, where it's just is there anyone behind those eyes?
But those guys, with Kirilloff, it's a plan. I like the guys that are just kind of like wrestlers or meatheads or something. They say, that they don't have anything to say, but they're kind of like that's. Just because they're
not bore-asses at least.
John Reusse was
John Reusse hated us all, and I don't know why. I think he just hated humanity.
Hey, John, how's it going today? Stare a hole through your soul.
Yeah, Thomas DePay. So if Buxton wasn't hurt so much that it becomes a talking point, I think the really sad thing with Kirilloff, he's never really healthy. Like, think about it.
Well, he was. This all started with the wrist. It's almost 3 years now. So you're right. And then, however, the shoulder got into the action. I don't know if that's compensating. He always had the perfect swing that he started at age 4. He was working on this with his dad, and maybe compensating for the wrist had to screw up his shoulder. I would think.
I think he also dove for a ball at first base and landed on the shoulder.
That last time he did, yeah.
But it's a shame because this guy is never truly healthy.
Well, plus, actually, remember when Solano made the play, the diving play in the Toronto series, and I said, "Whew, you got away with having him at first," and Rocco said, "He can. He's the only first baseman that would have made that play because he can dive. He can dive." And Kirilloff proved to us on that ball down the line that he's not a diver. So, which game was that? One of
that was game 3, losses. Right? Or no? It was game 3.
One of the Houston losses.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's they I'm sure are as mystified as the rest of us as to what if they should mark him down as their first baseman or not. I don't know. Maybe Sabato's ready. Maybe he can play the first baseman. I think he almost got up over 200, didn't he, this year?
He'd be the Gallo replacement.
God.
He'd be the perfect Sano to Gallo to Sabato, the holy trio.
If you want to get rid of all PR that you received, announce a couple months from now we've re-signed Joey Gallo.
Oh,
Joey's coming back.
Joey's
magnanimously taking a cut, but he's coming back.
Isn't it kind of weird that he suffered kind of a mystery injury and then he was never talked about again? Not even.
Such a mystery that the manager struggled greatly to try to describe where it might have occurred. He said, "I don't know. He fouled the ball off his foot." He was like looking at us saying, "You idiots don't believe this, do you?" It was like, and they kept, he gets all these serious questions, and that's they want full details. And I don't. And then they said, I think Doe said, "Was it in the cage or in the batting practice?" And Rocco said, "I have no idea."
Stop asking questions.
I don't know. It might have been we had the hitting coach drop a barbell on it or something. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Guys, we're all in this together. None of you want to see Joey Gallo hit anymore, right?
No,
stop asking questions.
Shut up and stop worrying about it. I don't know. They should be better though next year, don't you think? It should be a more consistently good team. I don't think you're going to see what we saw for 4 months at the plate. Although they promised us just as many strikeouts, they support striking out a huge number of times. And
who's going to compete with them? That's my question. Can we finally get somebody in this division?
Detroit, I'll tell you what, Detroit getting rid of Miguel Cabrera's at-bats will automatically get them 5 more wins.
Yeah, they were stuck with him having greatest guy and one of the greatest Tigers since Cabrera, probably. Since K-Line.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. You got to, how many times was he out of the lineup? They gave him. He was trying to get these doubles records and all this stuff. So, they had to give him 500 plate appearances. And they might have a chance, but who's got any pitching on the way? That's the question.
Yeah, Cleveland's always feisty, but Francona's gone now, so.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to. There's no big secret here. I'm going to interview our old friend Trevor May on the phone tomorrow morning. I'm going to write a Sunday column on why is he retiring after his best relief season ever. But I see he came out and disavowed the Oakland A's owner on a podcast yesterday. So
it'd be tough to go back on your retirement now if
especially with the A's. But he had like 2 months nobody did anything against him, and for the A's, I was telling Judd I think yesterday that I was I was in the car listening to a Twins game against Oakland. It was coming back from someplace, and it was that afternoon game that they lost to the A's there when they were still floundering around late August, early September. Provis comes on and says, "Here's Trevor May. He hasn't given up a run in his last 20 appearances." And I said, "What?"
Yeah, he had like 21 saves too. His strikeout rate was pretty far down, but
I was not digesting A's box scores, so I had no idea that
he spent time, I want to say, in the spring, April or May, on the mental health list too. Anxiety, which is really
because of anxiety.
Interesting.
But remember that one year that we lined him up to be the guest on your show, and then about 2 days later he blew out his elbow.
Made one appearance in person with us in the press box in the fort, and that was it.
We had that happen twice because Glenn Perkins blew his elbow out one year too, and then we got stuck with Hector Santiago as a weekly guest.
I think Hector was the May year. I think that was
he the May year? Oh, and Glenn was rehabbing.
I was down there, and you guys were gone. I said, "Well, I can get you Hector. He's a good talker." And then Hector just disappeared at the middle of the season. Right? He just stopped calling.
He cashed
he's
that
still
check.
Pitching in Mexico. He's still pitching in the Mexican League.
Have we found Sano yet? Has anybody found Miguel Sano?
I just found Freddie, who's his guy, and he was supposedly working out to some degree in the Dominican, but he was supposed to head to Tampa to work out. But the last time he did that, when they had the big tryout for him in January, he was fat and out of shape, and his bat was slow, so nobody signed him. So hopefully this time he's a little more serious about it when he gets to Tampa.
If the Star Tribune wants to win an award, and they might, have somebody find this guy, get on a plane, and go write the story about what happened to one of the top prospects for the Twins in the last whatever years.
Yeah, well, it won't be me because I went over to St. Paul last year to talk to him.
Yeah, no, you're not going to get that one.
He had a tryout and was he walked by me and I tried to stop him, and then I sent Sean into the clubhouse and said, "Hey, find out if he'll talk to me or not," because he just blew me off. And he said he's not talking to you. And he said it rather decisively and profanely. And I said, okay, so I wouldn't spend the Tribune money, Star Tribune money, to fly me to Tampa. It'd have to be somebody else. Somebody
and you guys took that picture together at spring training.
I know, we were buddies.
You guys were tight.
Buddies. Yeah. I wasn't like Sid. I didn't ask him like he said about Sid that one time. I think Mitch or somebody said, "Hey, Sid wants to talk to you." And he said, "That guy asked me the same questions every time."
That's the point.
Yes.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah, if someone should find him and do a big feature.
Well, hopefully he got back down to 280 or something, and can put on a show. And somebody, when you see the strikeouts and home runs, there's still a place for him, probably just. I mean,
Kyle Schwarber hit like a $180 this year and hit 47 home runs.
47 home runs, 48 singles.
Yeah.
How about that second home run he hit the other night, though? My God, that one was in orbit.
Yeah.
The first one was this high, The second one was just enormous. I don't know. They had to be 500 feet. I don't know
Sammy
what they called it.
softball, man. God bless him. God bless Schwarber. That was the 70s in a nutshell. That physique, I love those guys.
He's chubbing up again, but he's not as fat as he was when he first came up. But you got to give credit to how bad he is in the outfield. That they said, "Harper, we know you're coming back from an injury. We don't know, and you've never taken a ground ball at first, but we want you to play first so we can put Schwarber take Schwarber out of the field. We want him to be the DH. You can't be our DH anymore. We need Big Fatty to be our DH." So,
amazing.
Anyway.
All right, Pat, we got to go. We got to talk some Vikings here on Purple Daily, but okay. I'm glad we fixed the Twins today. At least got to start on fixing the
Twins.
All
right, we got a couple ideas there. See ya.
Yep. All right, see ya, Pat. There it is. Reusse Unchained here on Mackey and Judd.